Resident Evil 4. The game that truly started everything in terms of gaming for me. A game that truly stands the test of time after almost 20 years. A game that has been released over and 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 over again. A game that really tests the "it's just a game" argument, similar to the likes of The Last of Us and Red Dead 2. And possibly best of all, it's a game that even includes
ballistics too.
But even though I was just a wee child at the time this game had been released in 2005, being not even 2 years old, some of my earliest memories stem from this game. It's for this reason too that Twilight Princess, a game not necessarily unanimously agreed upon by fans, is in my top 3 favorite Zelda games, potentially above Ocarina of Time. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of flack for that comment, but that's for another video. Some may call all of that nostalgia, I call it remembrance. Wait, no, that's just a synonym. I call it captivation. These games bring together so many different elements to create one cohesive piece of art and have become praised and compared since their release. But we're not talking about all of these games, we're focusing on Resident Evil 4, which is what I believe to objectively be the best video game of all time. Hey, Evan, I was just looking over the script, and I'm going to need you to change objectively to subjectively in the second paragraph. I know it's hard not to include your own bias, but you know not everyone will agree with that, and we all have our own opinions. Sure, boss, let me get right on that for you. Awesome, thank you so much. You're the best. Tch, that's what your wife said last night. This motherfucker always has to micromanage something, and I swear to God, if that son of a bitch tells me to change the script one more time, I'm gonna... Sorry for that interruption. What I meant to say was subjectively the best game of all time, since I guess there's other people with different opinions or something. Jokes aside though, let's get into my very long history with RE4 and why I'm so hyped for the remake. Let's start off with honestly the most biased piece of evidence of this argument, my childhood memories. And I say biased because we all have those games that we grew up with that will always have a special place in our hearts, even if they aren't anything groundbreaking. I mean shit, I even still play and love that Dora game for the Game Boy Advance.
I mean, Doom 64 was a fantastic game.
Albeit very vaguely, I do remember the process of my dad getting this game. My neighbor had recommended it to us, and while writing this, I actually think I remember him letting my dad borrow the GameCube version of the game to play via backwards compatibility on my Wii, since the official Wii version didn't come out until mid-2007. Regardless, my dad ended up playing through the beginning of the game right away, and while I don't remember much of anything past Mendez's house, what I do remember very fondly is legitimately stuffing my face in the corner of my couch as a 3 or 4-year-old crying because my dad kept getting decapitated by Dr. Salvador. This happened so much that he had to stop playing it because I would have literal nightmares.
Got him. We fucking got him.
Now if it were me and my kid, I would just play at night while that annoying prick is asleep. But he still hasn't played since, and to this day he jokes around blaming me for not being able to finish it. But this was probably just his excuse for being bad at the game. It was definitely a skill issue. Now you may be asking yourself, why does it sound like it took him so long to complete the village? And the answer to that is that it did take him a long time. And that brings me to my next topic, the gameplay revolution. The gameplay of Resident Evil 4 was unlike anything my dad, or anyone really, had ever seen before to this magnitude, so I'll let a lack of skill slide. But in all seriousness, up until this point, people had been playing games like Mario 64 with a wide camera view, and Resident Evil 1 through 3 or Devil May Cry, which all had fixed camera angles. Also, a quick fact about Devil May Cry, it was only created because of one of the many scrapped versions of RE4 which turned into the DMC series. Anyway, there may be an argument for some games before RE4 that had somewhat similar gameplay, but I was really only able to find one when making this video, and that is Fade to Black. Fade to Black was a 1995 shooter that apparently didn't do very well, but it did have arguably similar over-the-shoulder gameplay to RE4. And for 1995, I must say that that is pretty impressive. Regardless, it would be difficult to trace exactly when that gameplay approach began, but it is easy to say that RE4 put it on the map and made it mainstream. Because of this, Resident Evil 4 wasn't just some sequel. Oh no, it was a major evolution of previous entries in the series and a revolution of gaming as a whole. I mean seriously, just look at the difference between RE3 from 1999 and RE4 in 2005. It is absolutely nothing like it in essentially every way. Moving, aiming, and interacting with things gave the player a deeper sense of realism. Being able to shoot exactly where you want your bullets to hit an enemy, and that enemy reacting a certain way to that had been almost completely unheard of. But this game did that, and it did it well. For the first time, if you shot an enemy in the arm, they would drop their weapon and would be defenseless. That was until they reached to grab another one of their endless supply of axes in their back pocket, of course. Shooting an enemy in the face would result in them being stunned and briefly vulnerable to a melee kick. However, if you experimented and shot them in the knee instead, they would drop to that knee and there would be a different melee kick animation for that scenario. And for the castle and island sections, that different melee was a badass suplex. This isn't even mentioning the environments, soundtrack, and other technology that was used during development. They were utilizing motion capture, but not just any basic motion capture. They used facial motion capture to track facial movements while talking because Capcom. Now looking back on that, the talking animations may look a little silly, but for the time, this was absolutely insane. On top of that, the environments and their associated music are absolutely impeccable. I mean, just listen to this music while near the merchant right before the El Gigante fight. This is Serenity, and I swear to God I could listen to just this for the rest of my life. Now, I did have a sentence in the video script about how this song has a sense of calm, but then I realized that the name Serenity stems from the word serene, which literally means calm, and now I feel like an idiot. The fog effects, lighting with day to night transitions, perfect ratio of action to survival horror, and flawless pacing are just a few more things that RE4 was able to achieve, and I cannot stress enough how ahead of its time this game was. It wasn't until almost 2 years after that we got Gears of War, almost 3 years after that we got Assassin's Creed, and almost 7 years after that we got Skyrim. Anyway, even though I don't think the remake can be talked about without discussing the original, this was supposed to be about the remake, so this concludes me sucking off the original game for the last 4 Google Docs pages. So the reason I'm saying the seemingly absurd statement that RE4 Remake is my most anticipated game ever is because, for the reasons that I just went over, it won't just be a remake for me. This game is going to allow me to literally relive an experience almost 20 years later, but even better this time. Looking back, I would have absolutely killed to be able to see the OG RE4 be announced, shown off in trailers, and be old enough to go out and get the game and play it non-stop. And with the announcement of the remake, I will finally be able to do all of those things. And the way that the remake is looking so far, that vicarious experience is already happening. I have obviously seen the announcement along with all the trailers, gameplay, breakdowns, and everything in between. And yes, I, of course, have already secured my collector's edition. Given that Zelda is my favorite franchise and is also what I named my channel after, one might think that Tears of the Kingdom is my most anticipated game of 2023. But the many memories I have with the original and the insane influence on the future of gaming are the reasons why Resident Evil 4 Remake is not only my most anticipated game of 2023, but my most anticipated game of all time, and I don't see any game topping that label for years, if ever. Oh, and one more thing. Capcom, don't fuck this up. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more Resident Evil videos like this one and so much more. And you already know that I will be live at midnight, day 1 for the release of RE4, so look out for that. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.